And this has been my kitchen.
It is enough to make you, how you say, want to cry, but this meal here is exquisite to the French cuisine. We are going to show you how to make a French onion soup. But moi, no, I am not going to show you. I leave it up to my friend and partner, SonicBlu. SonicBlu cheese? No, that is my friend, SonicBlu. And bonsoir and good morning. Very nicely said. Thank you, Jean-Pierre. And welcome to another episode of Cooking with SonicBlu. And moi, Jean-Pierre. No, Cooking with SonicBlu. You're not going to be doing the cooking. Why not, Nonani? Because when you cook, you tend to leave a little bit of your fur in the food. I cannot tell it is a girl shedding problem, you see. N'est-ce pas? Let's just keep the dogs out of the kitchen for now, and why don't you go and placate the other animals in the house? They are sleeping. They not know how to cook a good French cuisine. Neither do you. How could you say I do not know how to prepare French cuisine? You know how to eat French cuisine, not prepare. Leave that to me. Good point. Well, and I'm going to leave those absence and leave you in the presence of SonicBlu. Thank you, Jean-Pierre. Jean-Pierre en garde touché, everybody. And I am about to show you how to make French onion soup. It is as simple as putting all of these ingredients together, and let's see what ingredients we have to work with. We have about 8, count them, 8 white onions. We have Swiss cheese, mozzarella cheese, Worcestershire sauce, Marsala wine, thyme, paprika, and a little bit of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. We got some garlic, and we got black pepper, and we got salt, we got beef broth, and 3 cans of roast beef. Now, in the pot, we also have 1 full loaf of French baguettes. All of this is going to be thrown together to make the most delicious, delectable French onion soup you ever had, and let me show you how to make it. First, we take our French baguettes and we put them aside. And the harder the baguettes, the better. That's some pretty hard French baguettes, but it's not going to stay that way. You say French bread is too hard, it's too inedible when it gets to that point. Then wait till you try this. See, French baguettes are made for meals like this. And you know the French, they love dunking their bread in anything sauce, like au jus. Au jus is good for roast beef sandwiches, and French baguettes is good for onion soup. Now, since this is a new bottle of Worcestershire sauce, I'm going to remove the seal that binds, and I can open it right up and begin working on it. First, let us take our onions over here. Now that's going to be the starter of our meal. We're also going to make steak with some of this Tajin seasoning. Tajin seasoning is a Mexican seasoning which is usually used in, well, many different types of things, usually in beverages. But we're going to use it also on steak. And you can pretty much use this on anything, and it'll taste good. We're also going to spice it up a little bit, or not spice it up, but season it up a bit with some white truffle oil, and we're going to use that as a light rub for our steaks. And then we're going to put our steaks down, cover it, and we're going to bake it at 375 for about 30-45 minutes. Then we're going to uncover it, and then we're going to braise it. That means cooking it uncovered for another 15 minutes. So join us now. We're going to make French onion soup and some very delicious steaks with a Mexican twist. So we're having Mexican and French in the same meal. Why the heck not? So let's begin. First, we're going to get out our handy dandy slap chop and our knife for cutting into the onions. And I'm going to need to put these guys aside, and I will begin with you guys. So I will just cut you down in half like that, and very easily use the slap chop on these onions until they're about, well, a little more like that. You can have big pieces, medium-sized pieces, any size pieces you want, but that's about the consistency we're looking for right there. And let's see that one more time. Can it be that easy with a slap chop? You bet it can. Just gotta get it started. And once you get it started, if you can, there we go. Oh, let me try that again. There we go. Once you get it to that point, then it's easy peasy. All right, so just like that. Maybe a little more extra like that. There we go. Okay, one over there, one over there. Okay, that is all of our onion. Well, no, we got one more. We got one more. So, what do you say? Let's go ahead and give us some room now, because we've got a whole cutting board full of chopped onion. So, let's go over to our bowl here, and so some of it fell onto the floor here. So, let's take the ones that fell onto the floor and discard these because we don't need those. All right, in our pot, we are going to first move the cheese out of the way because that's last. We're going to prepare our broth. For our broth, we got 1 carton of beef broth, about 32 ounces of beef broth here, and we're just going to pour that straight in there. And we're going to need all that beef broth to start us off. So the beef broth is going to be our base for this soup. Now, attention all you vegetarians and vegans out there, this is not a vegan dish because it uses and it calls for beef broth. Now, if you want a vegetarian version of French onion soup, use vegetable broth instead, and only use vegetable products, not beef. But since the French onion soup is made up of beef products, we are also going to add the 3 cans of roast beef that we have here with the broth in it. We're not going to drain it. We are going to drain everything inside, including the beef broth, and that is 3 16-ounce cans full of roast beef. You can find this in Walmart. In fact, you can find this only at Walmart because we went to 2 other places they didn't have any, so we finally hit Walmart and they had it. So let's put you guys in there. Okay.
I was about to say, yeah, I had a fun time trying to find just canned beef.
Yeah, and it wasn't very fun. Next, we're going to need 4 cups of water. So let's get 4 cups of water to add to that beef broth. Right about there. Doesn't have to be exactly 4 cups. It could be a little over, it could be a little under. 4 cups of beef broth, or 4 cups of water. Maybe a little more than that because it looks like we had a little more liquid in there. Let's add 2 more cups to make it 6. So we're going to add a couple more cups of water, make it 6. Beautiful. Okay, if we need more water, we'll add more water. Now we're going to bring the pot over and we're going to place onion into our beef broth. And this is, remember, 8 medium, large, and small onions. You can mix and match it up, and this will give us a better idea if we need to add any more water than 6 cups to our 32 ounces of beef broth and 3 cans of roast beef. Now, normally in my normal recipe, I would pre-cook the onions in a different skillet, but I just threw everything together last time I made this with the ingredients that we did have, and I'm making it the same exact way we did then, and it turned out just marvelous. Everybody loved it, and I wanted more, but we didn't have that much to go around, so everybody had just one bowl.
Oh, you know what we still didn't grab?
What?
The butter.
We got plenty of butter in the fridge. We'll grab that, but that comes last. Okay, so that's actually enough water. Let me see. That looks like it's enough onion too. So, well, we can still add that 8th onion. It's not, no harm is going to come from it. We can still add this. So let's put this aside and finish off that last onion. That's the big onion. So we're just going to finish off with that last onion there and cut it into quarters. And we're just going to make quick work of that by going 4, 5, 5, 5, 5. There we go. Got nice big pieces there. And sometimes in soup like this you need big pieces because you're going to enjoy this French onion soup. It's going to have small pieces, big pieces, whatever your pleasure, you're going to get it in this dish here. Okay, so let's get the rest of that onion in there. So that calls for 8 medium, large, you know, mix and match it however you want to. Just make sure that any onion you add is going to be fully cooked before you go any further. And we're going to mix that roast beef in there really nice and add our next set of ingredients. Okay, so let's get all of our seasonings to the side and begin the boiling of the soup. We're going to turn up to 6, and then while this is heating up, you know what? Let's add some more water to that. Let's add another, we did 3 cups, so let's add another 2. Or 2 cups, let's add another 3. Or no, 2. Another 2 to make 4. So yeah, we'll add another 2 cups to that. Beautiful. Okay, so we did still need 8 cups of water to this. So now, you want to make sure that there's plenty of liquid to help that onion just soak in all of that broth. And then we're going to add our magic ingredients. Now we're going to need half a teaspoon of all these ingredients, and I'm just going to eyeball it. We're going to need about a half teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of, well, you can add salt and pepper to taste, but since this is a big pot, about that much. And some black pepper, about that much. Doesn't take much. And then we're going to add half a teaspoon of thyme. There we go. Okay, stir that in, and this is going to give you the flavor for your soup right here, because the beef broth is going to be quite bland without it. So you need to add these extra seasonings and make sure you have plenty of it to flavor your broth. And you can just see all those seasonings, the thyme especially, you can see all that thyme floating in there, and that's exactly what we want. There's a lot of thyme in there. So half a teaspoon of thyme will do you really good. Okay, next we're going to add just a good splash of Worcestershire sauce, however you pronounce it. We're going to add probably about that much, about quarter cup of Worcestershire. And we're going to mix that in. And this is going to taste very beefy, very oniony, very French, very good. And that roast beef is going to really cook well in there. And we're going to cook the heck out of this until that roast beef kind of shreds on its own as you stir. Now, for an extra magical ingredient, let's add some Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. And of course, as you know, Creole and French are very close in culture. And we're just going to add that much, about half a teaspoon of that stuff as well, maybe a little more. Okay, we're going to stir that in. That's going to give us a taste of old Louisiana and a nice Creole flavor right there, because Creole and French go hand in hand together, especially when you're in Louisiana and having some of that crawfish etouffee. Now that's a good Creole dish. So this will be like a Creole French onion soup. Okay, I'm going to mix all that together. Okay, we're also going to add 1 splash of Marsala cooking wine. So let's add 1, 2 splashes of Marsala cooking wine. So for a soup that size, you're going to need 2 splashes of this stuff. Alright, then stir. Stir that up, stir that well. Make sure all those flavors are well combined, well mixed in, and just let this stuff reach its boil on its own, stirring it occasionally. You don't need to pay that much attention to it. You can just do other things in the kitchen while you're letting this boil, and you can come back to it, stir it a little bit, and continue to work with it with your other stuff. Now, next and last for this soup, we are going to add about 5 cloves of garlic. So let me get a spoon, a small spoon, and we're going to add 5 cloves of minced garlic. That's about 2.5 there, and that's about 2.5. So a little bit more than that, and we have our garlic. There we go. A little bit more doesn't hurt. So that's going to add garlic to our existing recipe. Stir that in really well until everything cooks together. Now this is going to be the start of our French onion soup, but it's not soup just yet. Let this stuff reach a steady boil. And we're going to let that reach a steady boil, and we'll even stick that spoon in there because we only needed to stir. Okay, so come over here. Next we're going to work on our steak. So let's go ahead and open up our steak. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our steak over there onto that cookie sheet over there. And one at a time. There's one. Get off there.
Should probably preheat.
Yes, let's preheat our oven. Good idea. Now that everything's off of it, let's preheat our oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And then come back over to our steak. And our next steak is right here. Okay, up, get that out of there. Okay, that's steak number 2, and steak number 3. Right over here. Okay. So I'm gonna bunch that up, like that. Okay, now. Don't need that either, so that's garbage. We're going to take this and these, and what the hell, Monterey steak seasoning has got the salt and pepper in it. And we're going to prepare our steaks. Now, first thing you want to do is very carefully open up your white truffle oil, because the stuff is expensive. We're going to just dabble a little bit over the top, just like that. And now, with your fingers, you're going to rub that in, just like this. You're just going to rub that in over the top, not over the bottom, over the sides, just the top, because this is some very flavorful oil. You don't need to douse this or soak this in this oil. You just need to put it over the top so that you get that nice truffle flavor. And you don't need too much of that, because number one, this stuff's expensive. Number two, it got so much flavor, you only really need to put it over the top, because too much is overkill, and you don't want to overkill on truffle oil. That is a big no-no. So just over the top for truffle oil, and then we are going to go over the top of these with some of this seasoning, and we're just going to do it like this, sprinkle it over. And like I said, you can lots of the time, you use this in beverages, but you can use this for anything too. I mean, who says you have to stick with just beverages? You can use this for meats. You can use it for anything you cook with, if you want a good spice and sweetness all at the same time. And remember, this is tajin. Actually, is pronounced in the Spanish language tajin. So Sprinkle some tahini. And sprinkle some more. Probably used up the whole vial. You'll really be tasting this. Okay, that's good, that's good. Okay, now, that's done. Now, we want to put in salt and pepper and good seasoning for making it taste more steak-like. That's what this stuff is for. Top over the rest of that with Monterey steak seasoning. This got your salt, your pepper, all the other spices you need to put over a good steak, and that will do just perfectly. So now that you got your tahini and you got your Monterey steak seasoning, now we're going to cover it. Before it goes in the oven, we want to cover this. And the reason why we want to cover it is because we want to seal in. As it cooks, we're going to seal this so that way it'll come out nice and juicy and tender and delicious and flavorful. And this foil is going to help seal in all that flavor and moisture. And then, at about 15 minutes before we pull it out of the oven, we're going to uncover it and braise it for another 15 minutes. And braised means to cook uncovered. So that's well covered and well tight on there. I don't think any steam is going to escape from here, and that's exactly what we want. So let's open our oven up, slide that in there, and let that cook for about 45 minutes. And then at the last 15 before we pull it out, we'll uncover it and we'll braise it for 15 minutes. And then we're going to watch over our soup until it reaches a boil. Then we're going to go to the next step. So we're going to leave that at, let's turn that down to a 5. We're going to need to slow cook this to a steady boil. And once it reaches that point, I'll show you what to do next. This is going to be some delicious soup. And meanwhile, our steak is in the oven, and this is going to be a nice addition to an already exquisite soup. Try this at home. Your taste buds are going to really, really sing out the French anthem. I mean, if it knows the French anthem, but we're not done yet. We'll show you where to go from there after this. Okay, so our soup is, well, soup. And just before we're serving it, or well, we're not even serving it yet, but take a look at this. This is one good tablespoon or two of butter, a couple of tablespoons of butter. We're going to just drop that right in there and let it melt. And look at this. A lot of the onions have shrunken down. So if it looks like you have way too many onion in there, don't worry about a thing. Those onions are going to shrink down as they cook. And this is going to be some very flavorful soup. And that butter is going to give it a nice creamy flavor and creamy texture. And it just enhances the flavor of any soup. Just add some butter to it. And we're adding a couple tablespoons of butter to this because it's a big enough soup where you're going to need that extra butter to flavor. And look at this. Look at that. It's already starting to become creamier. Look at that. We just got to stir that in and stir it in. Stir it all in. Stir it in until all that butter is melted. And there it is. Make sure that butter is all melted in, because that heat from the residual heat from this soup, because I turned off the heat, and the residual heat from the soup is melting the butter just nicely. And look at all of that melted goodness just coming straight up to the top, and you can see it. And so we're going to stir that in and make sure it's well incorporated into our soup, and that's just going to enhance the flavor of everything you got in here. Now let's see if there's anything left. Yep, there sure is. So we're going to wait till all of that is melted before we go to our next step. And we're just going to keep an eye on that pat of butter there, and look at all of that butter just coming up to the top and melting, and ooh, just turning our soup into something delectable. And that's just really, really going to bring out the flavor. So now our butter is now pretty much down to that, so we can safely say that's going to turn into our soup here. It's going to melt right into our soup. Look at that. Look at that. So just stir that in very well until it's well incorporated. Make sure it gets through and through. Every nook and cranny of this soup is going to explode with flavor. And this is going to be some really amazing soup. Now that our butter is mixed in there well, I'm going to take a ladle and we're going to bring our first bowl over, and we're going to get a good load of this soup. So what you want to do, first of all, go to the bottom and bring it up. And look at all that onion and beef that we got in just that one scoop. And we're just going to put it right in that bowl there. And then we're going to do it again. Bring it right up. Look at all that. Let's shake up some of the beef, give some of the other people a chance at the beef. And then we're just going to take, stir that a little bit more. We're just going to take some of the juice from the top and then just pour it. And then we're going to do that one more time with just a little more juice. Just a little bit more. And perfect. Look at that. There is our onion soup. But now, we're not ready to serve it just yet. We're going to grab our next bowl, do the same thing. Going to go down to the bottom of the pan or the pot and bring up all of the onion and beef. And we're going to do that again. Onion and beef. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. A little more juice that time. Now we're going to just juice. Just top that with the rest of the juice. And a little bit more. And that is just beautiful. Okay, set this. I'm going to take some of those baguettes. We're going to place them right in the middle of that soup there. Just take those baguettes, that soup is just going to soak right into those hard baguettes. Just like that, just like that, just like that. And there's a little extra piece of baguette there, but that's okay. That's okay. It's still going to be delicious. Next, we are going for our cheese. Now, to put cheese, first we're going to put, let's lay down our mozzarella cheese because it's shredded. And I always like to put down mozzarella cheese first. So watch this. Over the baguettes and around the soup. That's where the mozza is going to go. That's where the mozza cheese is going to go. Just like that. Over the baguettes and around the soup. Over the baguettes and around the soup. We want the cheese to melt on top of our baguettes because that's going to help soften it up too. Let's put some cheese over around the side and then over the baguettes. Now this one won't keep them very much cheese because it's an end cut. But we're going to do this up as best as possible and then around in the soup. I'm going to put mozza cheese all over there. Top that with my mozzarella. Let's put some more mozzarella in these guys. A little more over here and a little more there. A little more there. Okay. And a little more here. Right around there, right around there. A little more here. Perfect. Okay, got a little bit of mozza left. Now, we're going to reach for our Swiss cheese. This is regular sliced Swiss cheese we're using here. And we're going to place the Swiss cheese wherever we can over our baguettes. Like that. And like that. So 2 slices per bowl. We're going to put that right over like that. And that cheese is just going to melt right over our baguette. Let's go for our next one. 2 slices of Swiss cheese per bowl. It's just perfect. So we're just going to do like that. Right over the baguettes. I'm going to melt that cheese right over the baguettes. Right over the baguettes. And right over the baguettes. Just like that. Just like that. Now, these are going to go into the oven at 375 for about 15 to 18 minutes. So let's do it. Go and do that now. And while we're at it, let's check on our steak. Okay, we're going to reach in for our trusty pot holder there. I'm going to drag this out. We're going to look at our steak, and we're going to put our bowls right here on that top shelf. So without further ado, let's do that now. Very careful. Go. 1. Okay, and 2. Definitely don't want to overfill your bowls because doing so can cause these things to drip all over the place. There's still a little bit of drippy there. And let's get that third one in real quick. 3, and then get this on an even ground. Okay, now, where is this thing? Okay, just lift that up, and that'll even itself out when it goes in. Okay, that'll be even up. Now close the door. Let those start cooking for about 15 to 18 minutes. Now, join me while we uncover our steak. Oh yes, oh yes. Here's our steak. There's our steak. Look at that, look at that. Oh, look how tender, look how juicy that is. Okay, that's the benefit of cooking covered. Now, that's a little juicy there, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab our pot holder, put it back in the oven for another, I'd say 10 minutes. I'd say 10 minutes because we got thin pieces of steak here. So that's only going to take 10 minutes to cook. And that thick one, probably about 15, but you can still cook it for 10. And we're going to cook this on the lower shelf because the soup is on the top. So we're just gonna put that back in, let that cook 15 minutes, and then we're gonna pull it out. We're about 10 minutes to steak, 15 minutes for the soup, or until the cheese is very well done. You want a very well done cheese. Then we're gonna make our mashed potatoes. So we're gonna have steak, mashed potatoes, and French onion soup. What a combination. But we are really mainly showing you how to make that French onion soup. And it is a cuisine to die for. Let me tell you about it. If you make it exactly the same way we did here, your taste buds are gonna scream for more. And we're gonna be testing this out and showing you what this looks like after 10 to 15 minutes. So join us for the big reveal, the big taste test, and then we'll send you on your way to make your own French onion soup. Look at that. There we go. All right. Let's pull that out. First, the steak. Steak is a little bit overdone, but it was a little bit longer than we anticipated. Plus, that was a lot thinner of a meat, but that is very well done. Okay. That one there looks the best, but these little thin guys needed to be that thickness for me to pull them out and still make them look decent. But that looks decent. These too thin, so they were a little too thin to leave in there for the length of time that I did, which was the 15 minutes. I knew I was going to pull those out at 10, but yeah, things happened. I was making my mashed potatoes, and that kind of sat in there a little bit longer than it had to, so that's why they turned out looking like that. But they might taste brilliant. You never know. It might not look the best, but they might taste brilliant. Okay, let's get out that onion soup, and that's going to taste the best. And I'm going to need another one of these, so let me get that. And then carefully pull this out, and look at that. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Look at this. Fresh French onion soup. And we have pot holders and placeholders to put the hot bowls onto to let them cool. Look at that. That is beautiful. That is perfect. Look at that. Look at that. And this came out brilliant. Look at that. That is a perfect looking onion soup. French onion soup there. Oh, that is just miraculously marvelous. And that is how we do French cooking here in Cooking with SonicBlu. That is our recipe for French onion soup. And if you want French onion soup just like this, make it exactly the way we did here, and you're going to love this recipe. I swear you're going to love it. If you like onions, you like your beef, you're going to put them all together and make French onion soup. And don't let the name fool you. It is some really good stuff. And you might not like French cuisine, but this stuff is to die for, let me tell you. Now, we're going to go over here to our mashed potatoes, and we're going to serve this stuff up here. Now, this is just the base mashed potatoes, because I was trying to get everything else done. I didn't have time to make this a garlic and herb like I wanted to, but some things get sacrificed, and they still turned out looking like that. But oh well, things happen. And I'm just going to throw those buddies down onto a plate and have a taste test of steak, potatoes, and French onion soup. Okay, a little bit more on that one. Okay. Okay. Another slab onto that plate. Not too far. I'm back. Okay. Slab there. Perfect. So then we got more of that stuff later. And I want to put butter on mine because I like mine with butter. And let me just put a little bit of butter on mine, since this one is so eager to come out of the fridge, and it leapt out on me every time I open the door. So this one gets used next. And get a knife. I'm going to cut a little bit there. And pop it right onto, I know that's a big slice, but you know what? That's a lot of potato too. So there we go. I'm going to let that melt in. Alright. Now, for the steak. Oh, hello. Watch out for that steak. I'm going to put you over here because you like to fall. Okay, put that there. And now, I'll just take the one on the end here. And it's falling apart. Yeah, see, this is way too thin of a steak to do this recipe with.
Spatula?
I'll do the best I can and just put it in pieces over there, I guess. I mean, this will be some tasty steak, but I was planning for this to be for that type of steak, and it ended up being the thin cuts of steaks, and I thought all three of them were the same, but they weren't. That's okay though. I'll still take that one. Okay, that's all right. A little bit on the side there, never hurt anybody. Not bad.
Little crunch to it, I hear.
Oh yeah. All right. Now, get out you know what? I'm gonna use one of these. That is a small fork. No, that is for a small fork. So this is a large fork. So yep, there they are. All right. So now, try the steak, which is way overdone for this cut. Like I said, I kind of overshot the time it took to cook, but this is steak with truffle oil and some of the Monterey steak seasoning and Tajin Mexican seasoning on our steak. This ought to be nice, spicy, sweet, and savory, and very crispy. Yeah. Oh yeah. That one may do with a lot less cooking time, but if it was that thick of a steak, it would have turned out perfect. Let's try.
I think we may need to let them cool down a little more.
We do, but there's nothing against taking a taste test first. I'm going to try it right over here because I eyeballed this one. And look at this. Just cut through the cheese. Cheese covers it beautifully. And when you cut in, you're going to take up some of that cheese. That's mozzarella and Swiss. We're going to go down and dig out onion, beef, and that cheese. Right like that. And we're going to take a taste test of this. That'll wake up your taste buds, folks. Absolutely perfect. That's what I'm talking about. If you want to know why my taste buds exploded right now, try this at home. You will not be disappointed, I promise. And with the baguettes, it's going to turn from those hard, tough baguettes. Look at this. Look at that. Look at how soft. Look at that. I'm squeezing it with my finger. That was our hard baguettes. You can't do that with these. Look. Look how hard these are. You see that? Hard. Very hard. You can't even eat those. But look, put it in an onion soup. Look how soft and squishy they turn out with the cheese on top. Let me tell you, when you bite into those baguettes, first of all, the bottoms are going to be very soggy, but that's the French cuisine. French cuisine, they're soggy bread. Like I said, they dip bread in sauces and make them real soggy. Au jus for roast beef sandwiches. They dip that in that stuff, make the bread all soggy, and then they eat it. If you don't mind a soggy bread and you don't mind eating French style, you will love these baguettes, let me tell you.
That flavor combination, it'll make your taste buds just melt.
And I didn't pay him to say that. He's saying that because he's being honest. If you wanted to experience this yourself, I beg you to try this recipe at home. You will love it. Your family will love it. Your loved ones, your friends, anybody you make this for, you can bring this into work the next day. They'll all love it, and you'll all love it too. And this is SonicBlu for Cooking with SonicBlu saying, may all of your dishes turn out this exquisite, and if you're not cooking good, you're not eating good, and this is some really fine cuisine. I'm gonna gorge myself on French onion soup, and I'm gonna enjoy every single moment of this. And I hope you do too.
Plenty of leftovers.
There's plenty of it. And we got a lot of baguettes. And we got a little bit more cheese left. I am enjoying this. Maybe not so much for the flat flat steak, but that French onion soup will make up for it. Let me tell you, that is some good stuff. And I am going to enjoy this to the fullest. I'm going to even take it with the pot holder underneath, and I'm going to set it right here on my desk, right there in the corner. I'm sitting down now because I'm exhausted. Try this recipe at home, you're going to love it. I know I do. So I can just open it right up, and I drop it on the floor. Okay. What the hell was that? That stuff keeps falling out, I swear. Yeah, you stay over there. So, like I said, we got big pieces, little pieces, whatever your pleasure. It's going to be flavorful. You're going to enjoy it, and it is going to be very, very nice. When we prepared this, everyone in the house just flipped out about its taste, and you will too. Your taste buds are going to sing. You're probably going to sing Frère Jacques after you eat this stuff. I ain't kidding. This stuff is good. That's Frère Jacques, but or Alouette, Jonte Alouette. Which is really funny because that's a song about pulling feathers off of a bird. You know, Alouette, Jonte Alouette, Alouette, Jonte Blubere. That's
It's trying to kill us now.
little bird.
Butter.
Little bird, I want to pull your feathers off. That's what the song is, folks. Next, oh, I forgot to add the butter. Shoot, I forgot to. Let's fix this. I forgot to add the damn butter.